Hi there, greetings everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back here with the mini-series that we've been running this week called In the Alternate Universe. So I'm doing a kind of a parody on the Marvel Comics The Watcher's What If. So for those of you who are not familiar with that, in the Marvel Comics they have a character called the Watcher, and he watches all dimensions, all realities of all alternate universes, and then makes a story up called What If. A good one is the Avengers one, which I used in the first episode, which is where what if the Avengers had never been? And there's another one called What If the Avengers had formed in the 1950s? Basically, it's just an alternate reality about how something may have happened. So the parody I'm doing here is I've taken 5 bands, 5 progressive rock bands. I've taken the lead vocalist out of each band, and using a dice roll, I've put them all in different bands. So you have a different vocalist in the original band. So we've done 4 so far, or actually we've done 3 so far. This will be episode 4. They seem to, for some reason, have gotten a little bit harder each one. I didn't plan it that way. That's how it's like the marriage of them has been a little bit more difficult with each passing one. I did choose a couple of bands on purpose that I didn't know as much about, like Hawkwind and today's band, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, because I'm trying to get myself to listen to more of their stuff so I can become more familiar with them. That's part of the reason why I do these things, is to help myself get to know more music, push my boundaries, and maybe push other people's boundaries as well. So in the case of today's episode, we are talking about Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and the vocalist that will be taking over for them in this band is David Brock from Hawkwind. So obviously this is going to be a little bit more different than the previous 3 because there's no Greg Lake on this. He doesn't exist in this reality. So they can't be Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So they have to be, I don't know what they would be. Now I'm assuming that Emerson, Lake and Palmer are put in that order because of their alphabetical. Emerson first, Lake second, Palmer third. I'm assuming that's why they did it, not knowing for 100% fact. So with David Brock here, would it be then come B-E-P? B-E-P or BEP? I don't know. Maybe they go with that, or maybe they decide on picking a name altogether, So first of all, before we get too far into it, how does David Brock fit into this? Okay, so he is a guitar player primarily. I do think he can play the bass as well. I don't think he has played the bass with Hawkwind that I know of, but he might have, but I don't recall him doing that. That was pretty much, they had their own bass player. But put under pressure, could he do it? I think he could. Many bands that have a keyboardist don't necessarily have a bass player or a guitar player. Usually it's the guitar player that disappears. But, in this case, David Brock is here. Maybe he's going to play a little bit more guitar on this than Greg Lake would have in the original band. Palmer and, of course, Emerson are both master musicians. I don't know that Dave Brock is quite at that level, and he's not the kind of power vocalist that Greg Lake is. I think he's a decent vocalist is what he is. Does that make this band weak? Without that vocalist and without that strong bass presence and that good guitar playing? I think Brock is up to it guitar-wise, but is he up to the bass playing? Is he up to the vocals? I mean, I don't think Greg Lake was a dominant personality in the sense that he was aggressive and fighting with everybody all the time. I don't think he was that way. I don't think Dave Brock is necessarily that way either, although he was used to being in charge. Well, he's not in charge here because I think that falls on Keith Emerson. I think Keith Emerson is the kind of guy in charge a bit here. But Carl Palmer's no slouch in that department either. So you got 3 guys here. Maybe Emerson and Palmer think this guy isn't really what they thought he was. He's not the guy they hoped he would be. I don't know. The music that he likes to play is a kind of a spacey rock feel. Now Emerson and Lake can do that, or Emerson, Lake and Palmer could do that, but they were more of a kind of bombastic band. Could Dave Brock fit into that bombasticness? I'm not sure. Would there be conflicts here? I think there'd be some. I think Brock might feel out of range on this, might not feel as comfortable playing in this style. I don't know how long he would be willing to put up with that until he either got good enough or felt good enough to play in it, or just left altogether. I'm not sure. The lyrics, of course, and the music, I'm not sure who writes for Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I assume Keith Emerson did most of the music writing. I'm just assuming that. I don't know for sure. But I'm assuming Greg Lake also had a fair bit of involvement here. And did they do the lyrics together? Well, Brock, I think, did quite a bit of the lyrics for Hawkwind, although I could be wrong in that department as well. That could have been one of the other vocalists that he brought in. What would this sound like if they were trying to marry this? So you got one guy who's interested in playing that really straightforward kind of spacey rock, and then 2 other guys who are off the map playing bombastically. Is that going to be a marriage that works together? It's going to sound different. I don't know that that works. How long can this go on for like that? I think this can go on for at least an album, maybe 2 albums, before they decide whether they're going to good to be able to stay together. You know, I think if they don't get that initial success that Emerson, Lake and Palmer had, I think this is a marriage that's going to dissolve fairly quickly. If they have some kind of success, it might prolong it a little bit. But ultimately, will they be able to stay together? And I think it's going to come down to if they have the success or they don't. And I think Greg Lake was an integral member of that success for Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So BEP here, I don't think will survive more than an album or 2. That's just my opinion. I think that Emerson and Palmer will decide that they need somebody different in that spot. Maybe they'll go out and get Greg Lake. Hey, let's give him a try. Or maybe John Wetton, or somebody who's similar to that. And maybe Dave Brock goes on his own, forms another band, and calls it Hawkwind. You know, that could be the case here. For me, ultimately, I don't think this works as well as some of the previous ones, just because of the nature of the sounds of the 2 styles and the direction in which both might want to go. And I think Keith Emerson is the factor here. I think his dominance, if he doesn't get it, if it doesn't go the way he thinks it should go, and it's not as bombastic and they're not making huge money and stuff like that, I think this marriage ends fairly quickly. So that's my take on Emerson, Lake and Palmer, or BEP if you prefer, and whether they can survive or not. If you've liked this episode, please hit the like and subscribe. Any comments on your own? Am I way out to lunch on this? Is it because of my lack of understanding of Emerson, Lake and Palmer that I may have completely blown this up? Maybe I don't get Dave Brock as well as I think I do. I completely understand that if that's the case, because they're fairly new to me, both these bands. New to me in the sense that I'm not in-depthly understanding them, but I am familiar with some of their music. So anyways, please hit the notification bell so you don't miss the final episode, which will come out on Friday. And I hope that you've enjoyed this up till now. So take care, and we will see you then. Bye.